if you could tell us who you are,
Yeah.
name, age, what you do.
My name is Zianni Orange. I'm 23 years old, and I'm a music producer as well as a musician.
Okay. When did you get into music?
I would say I got into music when I was around officially like 8 or 9 years old. In my elementary school, in third grade, that was when you were allowed to pick band, chorus, etc. And I picked band, and you were allowed to pick 3 instruments. And one of the instruments I chose was percussion. So that's how I got into like playing music in a ensemble setting, like was in school. But I've been into music since really young.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why black art? Why is that so important?
It's important because of what it represents and the representation it allows to garner for people. I just spoke about struggling throughout my life of not knowing where I fit sometimes for so many reasons, not just because of what I like or whatever. But I think representation is one of the most important things for a healthy individual, especially film. Like how we see ourselves is largely due to the things we watch, even as kids. So black art is so important. Like not even just for black people, but because our society is so dominant on a particular group of people, like everything else is other. So it's good for white people too. It's good for all types of people because for them it's like you get out of your bubble of what we're fed. And that goes for South Asian representation or queer representation, Asian representation. It's just like just getting all the variety of people and flavors and cultures is so important, especially for black people for sure.
So I asked that question with the follow-up statement, which is kind of why I'm doing this project, is because I feel that we need to rewrite history, right? Our history has been told from the westernized lens for so long. And it seems that they only focus on the negative when they write about the black culture.
Right.
But I think also for me why black art is so important is because, believe it or not, we're like rewriting history presently. And it's this new rich history. Not saying our history wasn't rich before, but now that we have the power to use these devices like film, music, fashion, right, we can now express our stories our way. Like a big signifier that or a big motto, I guess, that I'm using for this project is FUBU. You know, FUBU, for us, by us, right? And when it's for us, by us, you kind of take out a lot of the bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, it's straight to the facts. It's straight from the source.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my problem with like anthropology nowadays, is that you have this person that is not related to the culture at all, and they come and they photograph and video these people that have their own way of life and their own way of living, and it might not be as modern as our way of living or the westernized way of living, but it still works. And my problem with that is that now you're interrupting this community that had nothing to do with you and has nothing to do with you. And instead of using your talents, your resources, your technologies for good to show that culture in a positive light, you then use all of that and you use it in a negative light, saying how these people don't have water, these people wear these garments as clothes and they're not real clothes, etc., etc. But I think that now with this Black Renaissance that's going on, like, it's so important for everybody to use their talents and their knowledge to really band together and create this new history that we can teach generations that come after us. Like, yeah, this is how it started, but this is how it's changing, and I think that is really so important.
I definitely agree, for sure. We've come so far, and I think of hip hop, like, every time I hear, like, it's 50 years, I'm like, look at how far this came in such a short amount of time. It's honestly, like, remarkable to see. So, that's just one genre of music.
Part of the Black culture and us being Black people, I think it's safe to say that music is a very important and vital role within our lives. Even when you look back at history, we've made songs and hymns just about extending back to like slavery days, where we're making these songs about freedom and family and those interdynamic relationships that we're building. And even fast forward to today, where in music we kind of talk about struggle or the Black culture or what it is to be Black. I feel that today and now in music, a lot of musicians that are outside the culture love to kind of use what we make and never give for any recognition, point blank period. A lot of appropriation. If you could just talk about what you think the music means to us as Black people.
I think it's extremely important to us. Like you said, it served as a form of freedom when our people were in a position where we didn't have that many. I think a lot of the roots of music today, a lot of those things are derivative of our contributions like centuries ago. And it's so interesting because I had a show recently where my act was the last act, so we got to see the acts previously. And I don't even think it was just these bands, but as a whole, especially when white artists want to add, quote unquote flavor to their music, no matter what the genre is, essentially they're riffing off of like blues or, rock and roll or things that we greatly contributed to. So it's like, what a lot of artists interpret as adding some funk or putting some stank in it is really just like a lot of foundationally black music.
So I believe that it might have happened before this year, but I think 2020 really set it off for a lot of us in the Black culture, a lot of Black artists. We kind of banded together in this way to, stop or make a real announcement and proclamation that we need to stop police brutality against Black men, Black women, Black people in general. And throughout that time to now, I've seen so many Black creators just coming up and doing the thing, doing what they love. And I think it's really important that we're taking back our freedom, our power within these sectors of our culture, within these sectors of our society. And I just wanted to ask you, what do you think about that question? Are we in a Black Renaissance? Where do you see it coming from? Do you see it coming from 2020? Have you seen the constant uphill pattern where we're all kind of creating music and really taking that power back?
I would say, I'm not a music critic or anything, but I wouldn't be mad at the idea if someone came to me and said, yo, we're in a Black Renaissance. Not to discredit the work that Black creators do, but I think as a whole, music as a whole, due to, I think, the internet age, is as a whole, like, not as genreless, it's not as categorical, and I think that directly affects Black art as a whole. Because we are such the backbone, whether people want to admit it, we're such a huge backbone of music as a whole, that, like, if we're in this era of people being more experimental or not being afraid to push themselves, then I think that it's gonna translate to Black art. So, and I could definitely see 2020 being a turning point. That was a turning point for so many things. So, yeah, for sure.
With your art and in general, not in general, but specifically, do you have goals for wanting to impact the culture, or are there ways that you've seen that maybe you haven't acknowledged before that you have impacted the culture? And that could be the culture being, all around on the main stage or in small doses of different circles. Have you seen yourself impact the culture, or in what ways do you want to impact the culture?
I think something that is important to me is individuality and I don't want to be cliche because it's been said so many times, but there's so many Black artists that they tend to go against the grain, and their big thing is showing other Black people that you can embrace who you are and double down on yourself and things that you like. And just because maybe I'm a little tired and maybe, like, I may not have the best answer, but I think I will definitely second that, it's important to me to, I guess, I would want someone to hear my music and feel like their instincts are correct in terms of, this is what I like, this is what I want to do. Because growing up, like, it's just easy to feel singled out or feel like, where do I fit? So I think about myself as a kid and what I would want to do for myself as a little Zianni, like, who's into, like, all these things that make me who I am now. So to echo, like, I'm sure Tyler the Creator and, like, Tizo Touchdown, like, they want to show people to be who you are, and that's what my music at least is a part of, is that type of message, for sure.
And I think it's very important in this day and age, the act of making space, right? So you always hear this, it's not quoted, but you always hear this saying that if there's no room at the table, pull up a seat. Right? And I think it's very important that as a community, and that's also what I want to touch on, is community, right? How important that is, because there's these ways that we need to make space at the table for each other, but it's this like methodology of, like, one person has to get in and then we all have to make space that way. Like, once somebody gets a foot in, then you bring the others up. But I just wanted to talk about community for a little bit. I think community is really important. Um, this being, the circle that you surround yourself with, or the people you talk to, you know, passing by. Like we were talking about this like last week, where we were talking about going up to random people, or just saying hey, or
Right.
making a witty, remark.
Right.
How even those methods, like, that's building community, right? And I think community is so important, because what do you have if you don't have community?
Right.
You know, it's everybody thinks that you can do it on your own by yourself, and the truth to that, I think, is you really cannot. You always need somebody for something, and it's very important to keep these connections close and tight, and not even for the sole purpose that you're gonna reap benefits or anything, but off the sole purpose of just knowing people. People provide different experiences. You never know where people come from, so someone might come from the right side of the earth and you come from the left, but they'll tell you about some story, some experience that opens your eyes in a different way that you could never see before.
Yeah.
So if you just want to talk about what community means to you, why it's so important.
Mm. I think community is something that I've struggled with, like feeling a part of. And your preface to the question, like, I learned more than any answer I could give, but I've in the past struggled with the idea that I can do everything by myself, for sure. And I've always known that you do need people, and like you said, it's not about reaping benefits, it's just about feeling a part of something. And I feel like it's really easy for people who may have unconventional ways of doing things, or have unconventional thought processes around their art. You're more susceptible to feel like you are alone, or you know nobody really understands. So I'm learning as I meet people and get to know people, like, it is important. And despite feeling like I can just tackle this music stuff by myself, like, I still yearn for connection, and I'm human, so, I still yearn to feel like someone understands or knows where I'm coming from and I can connect with them.